Mario has been the beloved Nintendo mascot for nearly 40 years. He's done it all. He's explored various worlds, he's gone on vacation, he's even been to outer space. But the one thing Mario has not done yet is gone open world. I remember when I was a kid, and I got my very first console of all time, the Nintendo 64, I used to stare at the cover of the box art for Mario 64. And I used to dream about, what if Mario could walk around that world and all of these different lands are physically connected, not just jumping through paintings, but you could physically walk from, one area to another. This is what I'm hoping that they're going to do on the Nintendo Switch 2. I would love to see this. I've enjoyed Mario games for most of my life now. They are, I don't want to say my favorite franchise, but he's in the top 5. He's in the top 5 favorite franchises. So just for fun, because there has been no official Mario game announced yet for the Nintendo Switch 2, I thought it would be fun to go over a few predictions that I have for what an open world Mario game might look like. We've already had one example of this with the Switch 1 release of Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. The Bowser's Fury was an awesome expansion. It gave us a little kind of sneak peek. It felt kind of like a tech demo, but gave us a little sneak peek as to what we might see from an open world Mario game. Some of my quick critiques of that was, for those of you that have played and for those of you who have not, when you would walk into an area, there was an objective. Kind of like jumping into a painting, it would give you the objective. The objective is climb to the top of the tower and get the star. And you're like, great. You climb to the top of the tower, you get the star, and then you're ready for the next mission, and then nothing happens. You don't really know what to do. So you just kind of start to explore, you walk around, and you naturally just walk away. Well, when you come back to that zone, it has reformatted itself to the next mission, and it tells you then what that is. So you have to leave and then come back to start the next mission, which I didn't know at first. I was like, okay, now what? So it's a little clunky. I think there's probably better ways to do this. Obviously, being open world, you could just put that next objective right next door. You don't have to just, reset the whole world every single time. But then another example of the open world Mario design that I think we're going to see is with the Donkey Kong Bonanza game that is coming out for the Nintendo Switch 2 this July. That looks like the second attempt at sort of an open world Mario style game. I don't think that they were totally confident in doing it with Mario the first time, so I think that's why they're kind of trying it out with DK, so if the game is not very well received, it's on Donkey Kong, it's not on Mario, right? They really want to keep Mario as the top tier franchise. I think that after Sunshine, they're not really willing to put out another controversial Mario game, which is a shame because I would totally love to see another Sunshine game. Hot take, I think Sunshine is one of the best Mario games ever made. Absolutely love it. It's a gem. I love that game because it's different. All of the other Mario games are great too, but sometimes you just want to spice it up a little bit. Let's just get something different going on there. But anyway, these are my predictions for what I think would make a great open world Super Mario title. Starting off, there needs to be plenty to do. Nintendo has definitely learned this lesson when it comes to games like Breath of the Wild. Almost every inch of Breath of the Wild has something interesting to do, like a chest to discover, or like an enemy camp, or just an NPC that has some interesting thing to say. There's just stuff littered all over Hyrule. And I think that if they were to apply that to a Mario title, it could be very interesting. Now, I think that everybody could just look at Breath of the Wild and say, well, let's just copy and paste the success of Breath of the Wild to Mario. You can't do that. Breath of the Wild is a survival game, that's about cooking and like surviving the elements. There's a lot of survival mechanics to that title. You can't just make a survival Mario 3D open world. That's going to be weird. Mario's all about fantasy and fun. So you need to approach it a little differently. So instead of making them survival elements, they probably need to be more just like traversing elements. Meaning like, rather than having to eat a potion to survive the cold weather, maybe instead of that, you have to go to a certain place, help a certain NPC to get a power-up that stays with Mario, kind of like the badge system from Mario Wonder, where now that you've got like the high spring jump mechanic, you can go to that location, swap out your badges maybe in your little pin collection memory, like set or whatever, like the start menu, you open up your pin, and you can only wear a certain number of pins at a time. So maybe you have to trade out those pins for other pins, and then you can spring up to the ledge that you could not previously make it to, right? That way, there are things that are just out of reach and encourages you to go back to those areas later once you've gotten the pin or the badge that you need to get to it. Another example, sort of like within the Breath of the Wild zone, would be castles act as towers do in Breath of the Wild. So like, let's say you want to unlock part of the map, right? Or you want to, in finer detail, show off what's going on in a certain region of Mario. Like you go to, I don't know, the sand area, like the desert area, which is just a staple of Mario, right? There's usually always a desert area. You go to the desert area, you go to the top of the pyramid or whatever the thing is, and you beat a boss, or you climb the tower, you unlock the thing. It exposes that area of the map, and then it also shows you little hot spots of things that, oh, maybe I'll go check that out. Maybe I'll go see what this is. Maybe I'll check this out. Maybe I can go see what's down in that cave, or what's over here in this little village, or all different kinds of things. So when you're into a new zone, once again, maybe the map is kind of blurry or it doesn't really show you everything, but by unlocking that tower, you get complete access to the map. Not only that, but I would say that you have to beat all of the castles to break a shield that is around Bowser's castle. Like maybe Bowser has taken over Princess Peach's castle, or he's got some kind of weaponized zone or something. That wherever Bowser's hanging out, basically Bowser's Calamity Ganon in this, version. In order to get to Bowser, or maybe he's done I'm just kind of spitballing this right now. Maybe he's done something kind of like with Mario Galaxy, where he has picked up the castle and he's like sort of orbiting space with it. And then in order to get up to him, you need to like de-shackle it or something like that with all of the other castles. I don't know, but anyway, the idea of going straight to Bowser, kind of like with Breath of the Wild, just will not work. You're going to have to beat the castles in order to unlock more of the map in order to get to Bowser. That's just how Mario has always been. And I think that there's something creative there. I don't quite know what it is. I'm not as smart as the folks at Nintendo, but maybe there's something there where it's like, well, I don't know. Anyway, I'm just going to keep going forever. But anyway, you get the idea. Castles are like towers in this new Mario game. As I mentioned before, maybe those power-ups are also not just badges. Maybe those power-ups could potentially be costumes. So, like I said, I just described the badge situation. I probably should have done this one next, but anyway, forgive me. It could either be badges or it could be costumes. And what could be cool about the costumes is that maybe like in the Snow Kingdom, rather than like, when you're playing Breath of the Wild, you would just freeze to death and you would start losing hearts. Maybe Mario just like moves slower. He can't jump as high because he's so cold, and it's sort of more restrictive on what you can and can't do. So if you've got like a coat and that has these certain abilities, or maybe you get a fire flower kind of ability, and then that will allow you to jump farther, jump higher, and the elements won't affect you as badly. Obviously, an aspect of the open world idea of a Mario game would be that all of these different sort of biomes are all these different regions are all connected. So you could walk from the Sand Kingdom to the Forest Kingdom or to the Winter Kingdom, or to the, whatever, fill in the blank, I'm sure like a traditional Mario game, it would be great to have 8 different kinds of kingdoms, with the Mushroom Kingdom maybe being centrally located. Another thing that I didn't even really think about too is that they're going to definitely need to work very closely with Miyamoto, because if you remember from the Super Mario Bros. Movie, there's a scene where they are kind of showing the whole map, and they've got like the DK Kingdom and all of that kind of stuff right there. So it might be interesting just to talk to them and say, hey, what if we just kind of use that map? What if we just literally take that idea concept from the movie, like when Mario's walking to here and he's walking to there. I mean, they kind of show that. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, they showed this actually in the Super Mario Bros. Movie that just came out. So we might get that map possibly. So there would be a DK Island or a DK Kingdom, or maybe that could just be like DLC later on. They would add that Donkey Kong area with the carts and everything. But it would be weird. That would be really bizarre, though, wouldn't it? If you're like playing a Mario Kart game, and then you could get into a cart, get in and out of a Mario Kart, and just drive around. Which actually, that perfectly segues into my biggest and my most excited thing about the prospect of an open world Mario. I don't think that they should do carts. I think cart needs to stay in Mario Kart World, and then this will do its own thing. But there does need to be a mode of transportation. And I think we all know what that mode of transportation needs to be. It needs to be Yoshi. Yoshi will be your main point of transportation in this world. So your walking speed is going to need to be much slower than Yoshi's walking speed. So that there's sort of an incentive for you to get Yoshi. Also, this might be controversial. I think that Yoshi should almost act as kind of a Pokemon in a way. Meaning, like, you should be able to maybe shrink Yoshi down like an item and put him in your pocket, so that there's certain instances where you can use him, rather than like in Super Mario Sunshine. I didn't really care for the way that they did this, but in Sunshine, where you've got to take the fruit to the Yoshi egg, he comes out of the Yoshi egg, and then you have him. And then, of course, if you touch water, he just dissolves for some reason. It's like, no, that's terrible. It would be great if maybe, like, you could just keep Yoshi. Once you've got him, which you maybe could get him early on in the game through a mission. Once you've got him, he's yours, right? And it's going to be interesting because we're going to meet Yoshi in the next Super Mario Brothers movie, which apparently is called Super Mario World or something like that. I don't remember. Anyway, it would be cool if Yoshi was just a permanent part of you. Now, people are probably wondering, well, if you don't lose Yoshi, you're just going to have him forever and then nothing happens? That's the end of the whole thing? No. I think in each region, in all 8 regions, there needs to be specific fruit. And if Yoshi eats that fruit, it'll change maybe Yoshi's color. So if you eat like pineapple, he'll turn yellow, or if you eat an apple, he'll turn red, or if he eats like, a melon, he'll turn, green or whatever. And then maybe Yoshi has some kind of like an ability to where if there's like a red door in this region, you need to take a red Yoshi there to unlock that door or something like that. Or maybe that a red Yoshi only has the ability to do X, Y, and Z to get you into certain bonus areas. That would be really, really cool, man. It'd be cool to have certain instances where it's like, hey, I really wish I had Yoshi because it could be a little bit faster. Like maybe there's a boss fight that you do in one of the areas where you need a lot of speed. And so you could do it without him, but it kind of makes sense to throw out Yoshi, jump on his back, and just, kind of like a cowboy, right? You can sort of like rope him and like, run around him really quick and get the jump on him a little bit. I think that would be amazing, because then Yoshi would have a practical use for just traversing your world, but then he also could have like strategic, advantages in boss fights or in other things like that. And then obviously Yoshi would have his own weaknesses, to where this is a situation where using Yoshi is just not gonna work. And then maybe also, since he would act like a Pokemon, once Yoshi has like died, you would need to revive him either with an item or you'd have to take him someplace. Maybe each village or each town that you would go to would have like a Pokemon center. I guess you'd just be like a Yoshi center or a vet clinic or a hospital or something. There just could be some place that you just take him to where you can get him all fixed up. So if he goes down and you're out in the wild, then you just don't got him. So there's sort of this, you know, kind of like what do they call that? Risk versus reward sort of way of looking at it. Speaking of towns, I think what would be very interesting, and I know a lot of Nintendo fans have complained about this in recent years, is that when I say the word, there's going to be towns. When you hear towns, the word towns in Mario, I think most fans of Nintendo collectively go, ugh. It's just going to be full of toads. It's just going to be, everything's toad. I think that each individual town should have its own, like, collective group of people. Like, if you go to the tropical place, maybe bring back the Piantas or whatever those guys were. Like, so that way each individual kind of biome and town and place that you go to has a few different kinds of characters, right? You're not just running into the same toads every single time. Like, it would be kind of cool. I know that in Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, when you go to that Koopa town where everybody's Koopas, it's like that would be kind of sweet. Maybe you could even take this opportunity to develop some brand new kind of characters and species that you would come into contact with. I don't know. I just would like to see a little bit more variety in the Mario characters. You know, maybe only maybe the toads are only in the Mushroom Kingdom, and maybe you only see the toads at the end of the game when you finally make it to the Mushroom Kingdom. I would not have a problem with that. I think that would actually be really, really cool. Also, there would have to be a haunted land. There would have to be like a gloomy land or something like that, and obviously the boss battle there would be like a mansion that's like a giant maze with a bunch of boos and stuff like that. But I would love a whole section of this world dedicated to like the house on the hill, the creepy place to go to. There's like graveyards and a Halloween town, and like everything's haunted, and you know, maybe even there's like, you know, horse-drawn carriages, and there's like ghosts that appear at certain time of the night, and you can talk to them and like do missions. And I would absolutely love that, because I've played a lot of open world games, and I have never played an open world game that has like a haunted section where like everything is kind of like a Halloween town kind of creepy kind of vibe place. I would love that. You could have like a dock with a creepy like pirate ship and stuff. It's just like, oh, come on, man. I would love to see that. Please, especially like in the Mario universe, you could have so much fun with that. It could be like almost like a little miniature Luigi's Mansion style kind of game. Please. And finally, I would say this is going to probably be a strange thing to be finalized, to be the final one, but no multiplayer. I know that some people would say, hey, it might be kind of cool to explore the world with other people, kind of like what they're doing with Mario, with Super Mario Kart or whatever that, or Super Mario, Mario Kart World. There it is. Sorry, I'm losing my mind. With Mario Kart World, I could see the appeal of doing that. However, I feel like it would severely diminish the difficulty of the game, especially if you could have people come in and like, oh, you go fight this boss while I go fight this boss, and we could like speed run the whole game. It's like, that could be kind of fun. If you were to want to do that, I would say that bosses then get twice the health bar for every player that's there. So if you had like 4 of your friends come over and fight in the world with you, like if me and 3 other guys were all playing on one game online, and normally the boss battle would be, I would have to hit the boss 3 times to beat him. Now it's 12, right? So we all have to kind of do our fair share. So the difficulty scales with however many people you've got in there. Plus the big question would be, if one of you is Mario, who are the other 3? I mean, I'm assuming Luigi would be one. It's like, do you really want to do Toad? I mean, it would be kind of interesting if you were to have like Mario, Luigi, Donkey Kong. But see, once you're going into Donkey Kong territory, now all of a sudden the gameplay style is drastically changing. and it's like it's getting too complicated, and it's like no, now it's not becoming a Mario game anymore, and it's like no. I think that if Nintendo is gonna push a lot of game chat this generation, which they seem to be doing with the Switch 2, you're already doing that share screen thing, right? Where you can play the game together. I could be playing my game. At the bottom of my screen is my buddy's game. And he's like, hey, dude, I'm trying to do this. What's the deal? And then, like I said, I can just pause mine, go full screen with him, or just like eyeball his screen and go, oh, yeah, I remember that part. Yeah, that was kind of frustrating. What you got to do is, and then that's how you market it, right? That's how you kind of sell it on people. Say, hey, we've got this game chat function. You can share your screen. You can work together to both beat the game together. You just can't play at the same time. I would really like this to be an individual exploration sort of experience, kind of like Breath of the Wild. Like, could you imagine Breath of the Wild being multiplayer? It's like, I just can't. There's something about you against the world that is just appealing to me. I don't like the idea of just, I do have a concern that because game chat has a dedicated button on the controllers for this generation, that Nintendo is just going to try to make everything multiplayer. And I don't really like multiplayer. So, I'm just concerned that that's going to be a big thing now. I mean, finally, we're getting a dedicated From Software title, and it is going to be multiplayer. And it's just like, is this just going to be a big thing now where they're gonna try to inject that into every single thing? So my request would be, please, Nintendo, make a big, awesome, epic Mario title that is not multiplayer. Keep it single player, keep it classic, but just expand the ideas that you've been exploring lately. They're very exciting ideas. I would love to see all of them sort of merge together into the ultimate Mario experience. Because my question is, how are you going to top Odyssey, right? Odyssey was already very big in a kind of a more traditional title. You have to go bigger because we all have access to Odyssey on the Switch too. We can all still buy that game. Kind of like with Mario Kart, right? With Mario Kart World, you had to go huge. You had to go bigger than 8 Deluxe because we all still have access to 8 Deluxe. I mean, I remember once they released the booster course, I was like, how are they possibly going to sell us another Mario Kart with 8 Deluxe and the booster course pass all already here? And it's like, well, they did. They went bigger. They just steamrolled over it with Mario Kart World, right? And it's true. It's like when I look at Mario Kart World, it's like, yeah, I want that game. That looks great. I want to play that. So that to me would need to be the same sort of, direction you would go with this open world Mario Kart. Or sorry, not Mario Kart. With this open world Super Mario title. We've already got Odyssey. We've already got all the back catalog of all of the old 3D Mario titles, with, I guess, the exception of Galaxy 2. We don't have that. But we've got pretty much everything else, and so you got to go big. And I think this open world is what they're going to do. I think, like I said, first test, Bowser's Fury. Second test, Donkey Kong Bonanza. And the third and final one will be our new Mario title. My final prediction, I guess, would be when it's going to come out. If I had to guess when it's going to come out, unfortunately, I think that this is going to be a Christmas title next year. I think that this will probably be a late October release of 2026, which is unfortunate because we've been waiting a long time. But I think the wait will be worth it. I believe in the Nintendo team. They're already doing a lot of great stuff with Mario Kart. So I'm excited to see what the future holds for them. But anyway, that'll about do it for me for today. Do you have any ideas, any predictions for a 3D Mario open world title? What do you think they're going to do? What do you want to see them do? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, everybody, take care of each other out there.